Three. Hello, this is Telling It Like It Is, League Two basketball preview here, Suffolk County. Want this year to get out some information on the Suffolk County basketball situation after a year of COVID and some seasons not as full as others. On the other side of the screen there, Coach Andrew D'Aloia there, one of the best coaches in the county for my money. Thanks for coming on, Coach.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for doing this. Like this is awesome that you're promoting Suffolk basketball and doing this for the kids. So thanks, Dave.
Oh, my pleasure. It's so much fun to do, and it's great to share basketball with everybody. It's that's the best part, sharing all the basketball with everybody. But I was looking, and as a League 4 guy, you like I was saying to you the other day. I mean, you look at the leagues, but you never really totally soak them all in, except your own league until the season's about to start. And I just can't believe the depth of League 2 this year. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a really good league. It's part of the reason I don't have any hair. You got teams like Comac with Coach Smith, who's just, I think, is like one of the best coaches out there. Does an amazing job with his kids every year. You got Jack Agostino, who's a Long Island legend, coaching over at Bayshore, and they have tough kids. Alex Piccarillo does a phenomenal job at Ward Melville. They're always organized, ready to play. You got Ray over at Whitman. Kyle Black's back in town at Connecticut. And Jim Fenton's been doing this a long time, coached at St. Anthony's. And, you go over to Lindenhurst, and it's a tough place to play. So, you put all those teams together for, a 7-game league schedule, and then you got to play them again. It's a grind. Dave, I'll tell you this, though. The one thing that I think is good about it is if you can get through it, you're going to be ready for a first-round playoff game.
It's funny you say that. I was thinking that before. Once you get through League 2, there's nowhere to hide. So there's nobody that you're going to see that's going to totally frighten you or make you say to yourself, gee, I've never seen anything like this before. And obviously, League 2 is very tough in that regard. And so even when you get into the postseason, you're going to be prepared every night.
100%.
Yeah, it's amazing though. But I have to say, just quick Northport flashback I was mentioning to you the other day. I mean, that 1994 Long Island Championship game versus Hempstead over at Stony Brook. That was an amazing game.
I hate to correct you, but it's 95.
95, get me. That's fine.
I'm
good with that. But I remember watching it because just such a great game, and it was a close game, but I never felt that Northport didn't have control.
No, and listen, the way I was talking to my assistant. My assistant, Mike Greenblatt, was the assistant coach for George Frank, and he's got over 30 years in the program. He does our strength and conditioning, and I call him the professor. He's a brilliant man, and that was how Northport played back in the day. Every time down court was a good possession for a great shot. So, and if in the pre-shot clock era, if Northport had a lead, it was very difficult for teams to come back. On the flip side, there were some games that maybe should not have been as close as they were. Maybe a game was a 6-point game and Northport was 14 points more talented. But in the long run, George had a philosophy. He stuck with it. The kids bought into it. And I think it gave the opponents a lot of trouble. And there's no arguing with the record. George was in a lot of had a lot of wins, and he made a lot of Final Fours.
I sure did. I mean, we used to play them every year non-league when I was at Hills East, and if you were down 6 with 2 minutes left, you felt like it was Mariano Rivera time. You just were like, all right, no way to get out of here. It's like there's no shot clock, so you're like, what am I going to do?
And listen, I learned so much from George and Ray Waters. George's assistant coach was his first year coaching. I was a 7th grader at East Northport Middle School.
Wow.
And I was the last person put on the team because I dove on a loose ball with about 10 seconds left in tryouts. And I overheard Ray Waters and George Frank saying, just put him on the team.
Yep.
I was the only kid on that junior high team not to play a minute of basketball during the season. I didn't get in a game. I didn't even have a uniform. Dead serious. I had one uniform that looked a little different. I sat on the end of the bench, and then my career kind of took off a little bit. But had I not dove on that loose ball, I might not be sitting here talking to you. I might not. I might have gone a different direction. So, but I thank George for that.
That's true. But I mean, just so much, like you said, so much basketball history at Northport, and of course, like you said, the whole league. Ward Melville, Connecticut, Bayshore, Lindy, Newfield, Comac, it's just all excellent programs. It's gonna be fun to watch League Two. It's the only thing I'm kind of excited about the video stream thing because sometimes I just want to watch a game. I don't want to scout it. I just want to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the only positive of my team getting quarantined last year was because we couldn't play for 10 days. I put on I signed on to NFHS and I just
Yeah.
I watched a ton of games.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. And, you hear about players from other areas and I'm really into live scouting. You know that, I get to a lot of games, but it's always games of a potential opponent.
Sure.
I would love to see I'm making it up, a Mount Sinai Miller Place game.
Sure.
I
Sure.
don't get to see those games live because
Right.
you're so wrapped up in your own season. And then you only, maybe you'll catch a playoff game because you can,
Sure.
but I'd like to see some of those games mid-season. I mean, I've never been to a Harbor Fields game. My school's a half a mile up the road.
Yeah, it's that's a great place to play too. I love the gym. It's good crowd. It's I love that court. It's just I don't know, always like playing there, even though they were great teams and tough to play against. It's still a fun place to play. And that's amazing. Yeah, you are a half mile up the road, not even maybe. And that's you never get to get over there. It's definitely accurate. But so looking at Northport this year, I always like to I know a lot of people don't like the Mount Rushmore question because some schools have so much history as Northport does. But and I always tell guys you can do it any way you want. It doesn't have to be necessarily the best players, or it could be the best players, and it's all up to you. And who would you have to say would be the Mount Rushmore of Northport players if you could?
No, this is great, and this is. I'm so happy you asked me this question. Once again, I have an assistant, Mike Greenblatt. We call him the professor. He literally has Northport's top 30 on his desk, and him and I argue back and forth about it. We don't share it with people. We don't want to offend any of our alums. It may our donations may go downhill. In a hurry. If someone's on team 2 instead of team 3. There's a lot of great players on the list.
Sure.
But let's go through it. There's a lot of Northport basketball parity. What I mean by that is there's a lot of team basketball players. We've had some really good players. Don't get me wrong, but
Sure.
there's a lot of guys who are really good. So sometimes it's tough to differentiate. But
Sure.
I'll go through some of them. I mean, Matt Smith at the point guard position, my 2013 point guard, he was dynamic, and he averaged like eight assists a game, and he did whatever it took to win. And he was like a quarterback on the floor, so I would put him in there. We've had some really good point guards. You got guys like Chris Webke, who played when they won the '95, went on to NYU.
Yep.
Adam Snigliaro, who coaches over at Hill. I'm missing a ton of guys. Pat Cash.
Sure.
I played point guard position in the '90s. A kid named Scott Michelson was real good, but and then you got Pat Healy.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to put Smith on their Mount Rushmore. Pat Healy from last year, who's playing college basketball at my alma mater, Hobart. You got Lucas Jarrett, who finished up a nice career at Lafayette 2 years ago, and then you got to mention the big man, Luke Petrosic, first player in Northport history to get first team All New York State.
Wow.
So he helped us win the Island in 2013. He went on to play 4 years at Columbia, played 3 years in the G League, a year in Germany, a year in Russia, and now he's in Poland.
Oh, wow, great for him.
He's still getting paid to play, and he was so skilled at 6'10". He could hit the three, he would block shots, he could handle, he could pass, and so he was really special. And then there's a name that people are going to be a little bit surprised by, but Kenny Atkinson.
Oh yeah, I remember Kenny.
So listen, I'll put half his statue on Mount Rushmore because he left after 10th grade. So we'll put like the right side of his face.
Sure.
But Kenny was on that. I believe he was on that team that upset North Babylon. There was the North Bab team that was like 30-1 and won the state, and their one loss was to George Frank in Northport. I think Kenny was a sophomore on that team. Could be mistaken on that. So, Kenny went on to play at Richmond, and obviously everyone knows he's an NBA coach sitting with Steve Kerr with the Warriors and did phenomenal with the Nets.
Yep.
And then here's another one for you, David Sumner.
Yes, David Sumner, yeah.
Okay, so David Sumner wins the Hanson Award, best football player in Suffolk. Phenomenal athlete. I played with him. He was a junior when I was a senior. He was obviously a sophomore when I was a junior. We were 22-1 my junior year with him starting at the 3, and we went 16-5 my senior year. And then I don't. They did pretty well the year after when he was a senior, but they had such a long football run that he came in late.
Sure.
And went on 4 years at Pitt. I remember sitting at Hobart College with all my buddies, and I'm like watching the Notre Dame Pitt game on TV on a Saturday. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's my boy Sumner, and he got player of the game against Notre Dame.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it was because he had like 22 tackles from the safety position. They were getting so. Yeah, and then a couple other names like Brian Sisti played at Hofstra, Rob Marquardt at UNH.
Sure.
And Matt Smith went on, played Division I basketball at Binghamton for a year, and then he was at Brockport. Thomas Kennedy from that team walked on at Holy Cross.
Yeah, some great players over the years.
So listen to this. Last week, Thomas Kennedy finished 54th in the New York City Marathon.
Wow. So he's still getting after it.
Still getting after it. So
wow, good for him. I mean, you do have a long list of excellence over at the school. So it's hard. You need like a top 10 instead of a top 4.
Yeah. And listen, I'm probably going to get a Facebook message from someone like, dude, you forgot about so-and-so. And I did. Here we go. Doug Tranny.
Yes.
Doug Tranny was really the MVP of that. I don't want to say MVP, and Greg Dunn.
Yes. Greg Dunn. Yeah.
So and Rob Santacola and Tom Radman, they were the starters on that team, but Greg Dunn had an amazing career at Nazareth, was like one of their all-time leading assist guys. He's in the Hall of Fame there. Highly successful coach at Brockport.
Yep.
Rob Santacola was their lockdown defender. He was the head coach at St. Joe's for 20 years. He just moved over to Southern Maine. And then Doug Tranny, man, he works at St. John's and played at NYU. I would have felt awful if I forgot those guys, man. I looked at my notes.
Yeah, you might get a phone call or a text.
Yeah, no, but all awesome players.
So I always like to ask, what's your favorite moment win at your school there?
Oh, I got 3.
Okay.
I'll be quick with them.
That's all right. Expand if you want to. It's okay.
Yeah. So listen, we're playing Baldwin at Hofstra, and Baldwin's like 5 minutes up the road. Hofstra's blue and gold, and Northport's blue and gold, and the entire town of Northport showed up. It was like Hoosiers, like like a barbershop shut down, and like So I think we had about 3,000 people at the game.
That's great.
And so we had fouls to give at the end, and we're up 43-40. So we use a foul or two, and then at the last second, something told me not to foul. And I know you had this conversation with McCaffrey. So we're up 3. It's like sideline out of bounds, Baldwin, 11 seconds. And I wave my arms. I call off the foul. I'm like, straight up, straight up, straight up. And my logic was this. It was, I just have a bad feeling that they'll hit the first free throw. They'll miss the second. They'll get the rebound, put it in, and we'll foul them, and we'll lose by 1.
Just start that story again. I guess I lost you on my end.
All right, no problem. So we're 11 seconds left, sideline out of bounds. Baldwin has the ball in the Long Island Championship, and we're thinking about fouling, and all these crazy things run through my head. Like, oh my God, they're going to hit the first free throw. They're going to get the rebound. We're going to foul them N1, and we're going to lose by 1 in the Long Island Championship. So and that all runs through your head quickly.
Yeah, it
and
does.
I said to my assistant, Timmy Dunn, I'm like, we're going to play it straight up. We're going straight up. And I just waved my arms. I said, straight up D, no foul, straight up D. And, they took a really difficult 3, it bounced off the rim, and we won. And my logic was, if the shot went in, I thought we were going to beat them in overtime.
Sure.
So sometimes you just have to, you can have all these rules. Like I talk to coaches and they're like, well, if it's 7 seconds and under, I foul. Well, the rule is great, but the team you're playing is different and the situation's different.
Sure.
So, I think you can have your rule ready, and then you got to go with your hunch at the time. And but that was a special win against Baldwin. That was the first Long Island Championship since 1995. And then, Dave, we had a crazy game against Brian Carey in Huntington in 2015.
I was at that game. Great game.
Oh, we were a 5 seed going to Huntington, a 4 seed. Game started at 2 o'clock. It was sunny out, and it was a nice day. When the game ended, it was 4 inches of snow and it was pitch dark.
Yep.
Six overtimes.
Yep.
I think it goes down as one of the longest games in Long Island basketball history. Lucas Jarrett finished with 46 points, and he fouled out in like the fifth overtime.
Yeah.
They had two really good players, Kenny McCarthy and Kenny Charles.
Yep.
And then they had good players around them, and the environment was crazy because that's a town over.
Sure.
So, and then obviously last year's Brentwood. Brentwood's the cream of Suffolk County basketball.
Sure.
They have been for a long time, and they had a special player in Jordan Riley. And for us to go into their gym and catch them in the conference championship was really, really special. And that was a huge win.
I'm still very upset that the feed froze.
Yeah. I know.
I was watching that game. All of a sudden, the feed froze. I forget how much time was left, but it wasn't a lot.
No, and as soon as so we have a guy who tapes our games, Mark Labasso from We Are Sports Video. So the game was being live streamed by a different service, and I can't even tell you how many texts I had on my phone saying like, and so we had him do a rush job and posted it on the school website so everyone got to see it.
Yeah.
An hour or two later. And when we got back to Northport, the parking lot was filled. People were waiting for us
Sure.
outside.
That's the best.
It was really cool. And in some ways, people ask, is there an asterisk next to it or this, that, and the other thing
Nope.
because of COVID? And
Nope.
thanks. But I kind of look at it like this, like all the guys in the room, all the coaches, we all knew what we went through.
Yep.
And in some ways, it was more special because of what we were able to feel during that really rough time.
Sure.
So that was kind of interesting. And it's very rare that you get to win your last game of the year. And my wife was pretty happy about that because there's usually 3 days of misery in February.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's a special thing too, because, we're practicing outside in the fall. If your district gave you permission, we went up to the park. We went up there every Saturday and Sunday, and, we had great turnout. We had 30 kids there, and the kids were so committed. You're like, you know what? These kids deserve something. And so
Yeah.
when you do win, you can only, as I always say, you can only win with the games and the amount of games in this case they put in front of you. And that's that. You got to focus on the things that are in your control, and the kids deserved it too, and so for me, they'll never forget that. There's no asterisk,
yeah.
They'll never forget that. Those kids will run into each other in a grocery store in 10 years and they'll smirk,
Yeah.
and they'll never forget that. And they're not going to say, well, how many games do we play? They're not going to, they'll know how many games they play, but that's not going to be the focus. The focus is they won a championship.
Yeah. And the craziest part about that was we were in Brentwood's gym, and we have the utmost respect for Brentwood and what they're all about, what they've accomplished. But we literally had to collect the kids' uniforms in their gym because football started the next day.
Yes.
So here we win this, monumental game, and I put 3 garbage bags on the ground. We start collecting, they're changing in a closet, and we're getting their uniforms back. And but I have great kids, Dave, like really, really good kids. They were so respectful. And I actually had one kid who was helping the custodians clean the gym, and it was like a cool moment. And kudos to Brentwood. They handled it. All the people at Brentwood were like, guys, take your time, do what you need to do. And Anthony and his crew, like they were great. So,
Yeah, he's a good guy. I always run into him in town here. But it's hopefully this year, like you said at the beginning, is hopefully we'll get a chance to get all our games in, and hopefully we'll have some fun, and all the kids will be healthy, and everybody will get a chance to play some basketball, God willing. But so what do you have coming back for this year, Coach?
So I like my team a lot. The player that comes to mind first is Nick Watts. Nick Watts is about 6'7". Played for me as a freshman, didn't get a lot of minutes. It was kind of, his education in Northport basketball. And then his sophomore year, he started. His junior year, he started. So he was a starter on that 22-2 team that lost to Brentwood twice.
Yep.
We lost in the county final at Farmingdale. and then he was as a junior on the the team that had the conference championship. So I think he had a full junior year, I think his recruitment would be a little hotter than it is now, although it's heating up.
Good.
So he's expanded his game. He's very versatile. He can handle the ball. He's got a great post presence. He's a good passer. He's agile. He's worked on his frame, and he can hit the three. So it's pretty nice to have. And I feel very, very lucky. And he's a great teammate, great leader. He looked up to Lucas Jarrett and a lot of, and Pat Healy, and a lot of their, sort of traits have rubbed off on him. So he's our leader. He's our guy. Then you have Dylan McNaughton, who is on the football field right now as a linebacker, but he's been on varsity since a sophomore. He's the four-man. You have these two other big boys, 6'4", Drew Miller and Jonathan Alfiero, who both just committed Division I lacrosse.
Wow.
Yeah, Jonathan Alfiero signed with committed to High Point University, which is a beautiful school in North Carolina, and Drew Miller is going to go to West Point, play lacrosse.
Wow.
So those guys are competing for starting positions. If they're not starting, they'll be 6'7". We have a shooter, this kid Brendan Carr, who's really expanded his game. He hit 2 big threes against Brentwood as a sophomore. And then competition at the point guard position between Emmett Radzul and Brandon Brown and a couple other guys. And then you got guys like Owen Zimmerman coming back, and we got some other players who are looking to play a role. Oh, and JJ Allstrand. JJ's having a dynamic football season for the football team. Wide receiver, he's a kicker. He does everything for them, and he's been on the team since a sophomore. And he spent a lot of time defending Jordan Riley in that game, and he's kind of like our 2-3 guy. He's a jet, great defender, can get to the rim, and he can shoot it a little bit. So we're excited.
Yeah, sounds like a good group. Who do you have in the non-league that you're excited about playing?
Oh, we started playing Comswag a few years back. I think Joel does a great job, and so that's a tough one for us. That's who we open with. We're doing the Suffolk County Basketball Coaches Association tournament. We're hosting one. So we have North Bab in the first round, and Floyd plays Harborfields on the other side of the bracket. So we'll see what happens there. That's going to be a competitive tournament. We're playing Southside in the Nassau Suffolk Challenge over at Tom Diana's place.
Great.
We're playing Pearson over the holiday. I heard they have a pretty good team this year.
Yes, they do. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, so we wanted to bring them in, and they were happy to come over to our place. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to St. John the Baptist for an old school triple header. Our JV 9 will match up against theirs, our JV, and then varsity will play at 2:00.
That's great. I love those little Catholic school triple headers. Those were fun back in the day.
Yeah. So
That's good stuff.
We're the only team in Suffolk that still has a 9th grade team.
Yeah, that's a blessing. Yeah.
So
That is a blessing.
We have to play Nassau, which is fine, and we pick up a couple Catholic League games.
That's good. That's good. And Southside's always tough. So and Pearson is they're in our summer league at our place, and last two summers, the summer before COVID, I watched them. They're very, very talented team. It's well coached, and they share the ball. It's a pretty team to watch. Good basketball team.
Excited.
They'll definitely be a good formidable foe for you. Two other teams in your league had sent in all this information that we put together here, and the one is obviously Connecticut, and it was funny because I was hoping Coach Black could come on. I should have had Kuz on, I guess, because the guy he has on his Mount Rushmore is Mike Coryell. And I remember Mike Coryell beating Bayshore in a game at Stony Brook in a playoff game. And again, it's before the shot clock. And Mike Coryell basically, he just ran that game down the stretch. And that was Gary Williams on Bayshore. That was a great game. I'll never forget that game.
So I played against Mike. I want to say Mike was a sophomore when I was a junior. Did he graduate in 92?
I want to say 92.
Yeah, so we actually, they came to our place for like a first round matchup. He was some player. And
Yeah,
by the way, Kuz was some player back in the day.
Yes, I heard
He might
that.
be on their Mount Rushmore.
Yes. Matter of fact, Coach Black put him on here.
Yeah, he could play. I mean, you what's great about Connecticut is when you go into their gym, They have pictures of all their Hall of Famers.
Yep.
And there's a really good picture of Kuz, man. He
Yeah.
was a baller. I mean, his shorts were jacked up, but he could play.
Yeah, he's got Mike Coryell, Eric Moore, Reggie Lane, John Kirshner, and he's got Kuz on there as well.
Yeah.
And of course, Kuz has been a coach there for 34 years as well. So obviously he's committed to the program, obviously.
Kuz and Kyle are like two of the best guys you're ever going to meet.
Yep.
Just like down to earth, salt of the earth. We compete, but we're friends. Like it's awesome. And that's how it is with a lot of the guys around our league. It's like, when Tommy Fitz used to coach at Whitman, he's a Northport guy.
Sure.
We would play and then we'd go over his house and talk about the game.
Yeah.
Like after the game. So it was great. We'd have a burger and soda pop and talk about it.
Well, that's what coaching's all about. I feel like that's kind of what has gotten lost with all the COVID shutdowns and everything of that nature. It's hard to be able to do those things. But now hopefully we get it all back and get those rivalries back and get the old camaraderie back. But and Coach Black was saying greatest win ever at the school was against Copeg 2016 and Bayshore 2014. He didn't really elaborate. I don't remember those games, but he's talked about returning starters this year. He has a player named Mike Catalano, is a very hard worker, huge heart, tireless worker, and Tyler Moore.
Yeah,
he feels good about his team this year.
Moore's still there. I feel like Moore's been there like 15 years.
He's on the Randolph Children's plan.
He's a good player. They're good players.
Yeah, and he was saying that of course he's looking forward to the league. He was talking about how tough the league was, and it has Northport, Comac, obviously, and Bayshore at the top of this list of how tough the league is, and upcoming new players, Dan Yeomans, Ryan Waring, and Malaki Rogers. So he said it was a good way to get back into the program, even though the league is very tough. And non-league, he's got obviously the two Sachems because they're right around the corner. It's always a good rivalry. Connecticut's intermingled into that Sachem school district. And then he's got EI, William Floyd, and West Islip also non-league. So he's excited about his team. And I thought when Kyle left, I was like, oof, he's an excellent coach. We always used to play them at Kings Park. We'd run into them in the summer league. We'd always play over at Connecticut, and Kyle always did such a great job with those guys. So it was always a threat to go play them.
Yeah. And it's a tough place to play too. Like, it's just it's one of those gyms you're like, oh, I hope it doesn't go south today. Like you hope, it's just one of those places like that in Lindenhurst for us. Sometimes you go over there and it's just, you just have a bad feeling.
It is a different gym too, because you got the open area under the basket. And so it throws you off. And then at Lindenhurst, I'm speaking of course, and then Connecticut's like an old airplane hangar.
Yeah.
So it's a different look to it, It's
there was one year it was like 45 degrees in there. Yeah.
And in the summer it's really hot.
Yeah.
But and then of course Walt Whitman, Coach Ray. I know all these guys. He's got his Mount Rushmore. Let me put 3 on there, so he's got room for one more.
I can't wait to talk about these guys.
Yeah, he's got Alex Aguidio, of course, Antoine Aguidio, and Tom Gugliotta, of course. We all know those names. Googs is the one that I just I remember him in high school vaguely, and then all of a sudden to go to the ACC and become the player he became is just incredible. I got to give him and the NC State staff, of course, a lot of credit, because to become an NBA All-Star, and if he doesn't blow out his knee, who knows where it goes from there, But and of course the Aguidios, just great players, and Whitman's had some great players over the year. That team in 2001 they had was
Nick Carter.
Yep.
And Anton. And
yep.
And by the way, Alex Agudio,
yep,
the dad, can still play.
Like, really?
He works for the town of Huntington over here, so I see him like 2 or 3 times a week, and he's in phenomenal shape. And up until about, I was playing about 4 or 5 years ago before my knees and back went, but he was like still a really good player. He played up in Niagara. I think he played in Niagara, right? Yep.
I think so.
And Antoine just got inducted into the Hofstra Hall of Fame.
Oh, he was a great high school and college player. Wonderful player. I never saw. He really knew. He was. I have to say this. You don't see many guys who are scorers. He knew how to score.
You know who he reminded me of? Lawrence Moulton.
Yes, I love Lawrence Moulton.
Like you'd be like, dude, are you gonna sweat? You're just gonna score 25 and not sweat?
I never forget going to, because in 2001 I had I had a really good team at Hills East, and we lost to Longwood in overtime right before the semis. And I knew Whitman was the best team that year, so I went to scout them like 7 times. You and I didn't play them. I said, if you're gonna win, you got to go through Whitman. So I
Yeah.
scouted them like 7 times, no joke, during the year. And Fitz kept looking at me like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Gotta find a weakness." And they had the kid Sutton, they had the big kid, they had Matt Ross. Oh
Matt
my
Ross.
goodness, that team was nuts. I'm sitting there going, "All right, what are we gonna do here?" Like this has it kept trying to get a different look. So I went to see him versus all these different styles of teams. I'm like, gotta find something here in the armor, but there was nothing in there.
Yeah. And you talk about one of the best guys around, Tom Fitzpatrick. Like
Oh yeah,
he's
yep,
one of my best friends, and learned a lot from him, in my early years, and we still talk, and
yep,
just a really, really, really good guy,
yeah,
like
he is.
how you root for.
Yeah, he is. And yeah, the best thing about Fitz, I always loved the humility of Fitz. Like
Oh God.
he's just he's like if you ran into him, you wouldn't know how many rings he won or how many championships he won.
Nope.
He wouldn't care.
Nope. Uh,
That's what I love about Fitz. But obviously, that's a tough Mount Rushmore players. But again, it's and of course you can't mention Googs without mentioning his dad being a great
you
coach.
know, there's a couple more guys that I may have thrown,
Go ahead.
on the Whitman Mount Rushmore. John Brennan.
Sure, John Brand, great player.
John Brennan in 1991 ended up going to BU. We battled.
Yep.
And Jimmy Schwartz.
Jeff
played
Schwartz is a very good guard.
I mean, when you don't have 2 Division I players on your, they both went to BU.
Sure.
That's a solid Mount Rushmore right there.
Sure is. I mean, they just and again, some of those other guys you mentioned. I mean, a kid like Matt Ross is a solid player. Nick Carter was unbelievable. I mean, then Nick went over to CW Post and teamed up with my favorite player of all time ever, Coach John Schmidt, and they went 30-1 at Post that year, and just holy mackerel. I mean, Nick is still a good player. I guess in summer league at Northport, St. Joe's was playing in the men's league as a team, and Nick was still a good player.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still getting it done. He was still like, he didn't look like he lost anything.
Yeah.
Great athlete and plays hard, knows how to play. And I know Antoine, I think, is doing some coaching now over at Whitman, right? Is he doing some coaching?
Yeah, he was doing the JV there. I'm not sure if he's there this year. I haven't found that out yet, but he was doing the JV for a little while. It was great to see him.
Yeah, there's so much tradition over there at Whitman, and that's it's something that you can't replace once you have that tradition. Says they're actually they talked about the biggest rivalry for them, I guess, has always been Bayshore over the years. Biggest win ever at the schools, both against Bayshore. He said, ironically, Mike Alowitzi, class of 2020, hit 2 game winners back to back. First Bayshore gave some nostalgia of the Whitman Bayshore games of the past. Any returning players for the season? Chris Davis and Rufino Oliva. So those 2 guys he's looking forward to having back. He's got to contend with the football success over there. Those guys are still playing.
Yeah, so are our guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's still playing.
I have 4 of my guys are one of my guys returns punts, another guy returns kickoffs. I hope they fair catch everything.
It's funny you say that, because we had this problem. I was working with Mike Ryan at St. Anthony's. John Schmidt's an all Long Island safety, and he was our best player in my opinion. So like we like St. Anthony's football had like a 3-year run there where I don't think they lost a game. So we wouldn't get him till like December 5th. So after a while we were like, listen, we got to push every game back until like the middle of December at least, or December 20th, because we never get him.
Yeah.
So finally his senior year, we're like, listen, we got to get you in the gym, at least shoot after your practice so he could be ready. Because I never forget, the first couple of games every year he would run over 2 or 3 guys.
Yeah. Well, Dave, I'm tempted to tell Joel Sutherland there's a book fair in the gym on November 30th, and we have to reschedule till February 1st. Our guys have a big game against Lindy, and and then I think that the other game is Bellport Hills East. So there's some good football going on right now too.
There's some great games coming up this weekend. It's great matchups. It's I almost wish I wonder if, I guess this is an ignorant question of mine, but I wonder if I could find those games online anyway. I want to watch some of those games.
Yeah, I bet you they're streamed. Everything's streamed now.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. That's one positive came out of all this. Maybe we can get everything streamed and we can watch all these games, because I would love to see a bunch of these games at once. I wish we could get like the red zone channel.
Yeah, right.
Just flip around and watch all these football
Well,
games.
I was telling someone the other day, like when we made our run in 2013, it was at the heyday of MSG varsity,
Sure.
where they were really trying to promote their membership. So they were pouring money into it, like in Pavanelli and
Sure.
oh God, Mike Quick and those
Yep.
guys.
Mike Quick, good guy.
The coverage we got that year was like a college team.
Yeah, it was
And
great.
it's kind of a shame now. I mean, you have some other people doing it, but I think it would be great if someone established, like, or someone went with it, or if MSG varsity decided to go back to it, because it was so good for the kids.
Yeah.
Have those memories. Like I still have like all our highlights and all our MSG varsity clips on Dropbox, so I can send them out to our guys and remember this, and
Yeah.
so it's cool stuff to have, and it helps you maintain the memories.
Yeah, it's and you know, you learn so much from high school athletics, and sometimes those little memories can help you bring you back to a great time, and then sometimes you can learn things from it and then move forward in your life, and it's good stuff. But I mean,
Dave,
I
who's the
know
best player you ever coached?
John Schmidt.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. He was. I have to tell you two things about him. One game I go to watch him. They're playing Dowling, and it was a 4 overtime game. He's a freshman. He's a sophomore actually. He played all 60 minutes. And in the middle of the game, his tooth got knocked out. So he's got a bloody mouth, and the TW Post training staff is trying to wave him over, and he's like, he goes down, he picks up the tooth and tucks it in his sock and finishes the game. And he scores like 35, but that was just Johnny, you know, like people like, you know, and the other thing about him,
he's coaching now, right?
I think, yeah, he's a police officer. He's coaching. He was doing some AAU, I know, in the city. So, but the other thing about him is he's the only guy I've ever had that I never saw get intimidated, even for a second. I mean, we went to go play everybody that year. We had him and Pat Foley in the backcourt, but he never got intimidated. We played some great guards. Had Nash went to Notre Dame. We played some great players upstate, and he never got intimidated. Like they might get him, but you could never see anything in his eyes that would like scare him. And I was just like, Jesus, what a tough individual. He just was, he was a killer, you know, he just, one of those guys, he's, you know, and it was funny because he wins the MVP of the Federation up there, and still he didn't get, you know, none of those other ones bit, you know, like they all like were like feeling it out, but they never really bit. And I'm like, he just crushed everybody up here. It was going D1, and, you know, but you know how it is. So he was All-American, first team, Division II. So it worked out.
Well, it's funny. You know, Nick's recruitment and Lucas's recruitment, and even Petrosik's to some degree, we live on an island.
Yep.
You know, so I know it sounds crazy, but some of these people they don't want to go down through the city and go out east.
Sure.
And there's a lot of good basketball talent in Suffolk and Nassau that I think flies under the radar.
Sure does.
And it's a shame. And, you know, what I've found through this is the people who come from Long Island and then go off to coach somewhere else, they use it to their advantage.
Absolutely, a benefit.
Because they know they can go home and recruit and find some players and talk the talk so that I think hurts players just a little bit, just the geography of it.
Sure. I like I have Justin Turner this year, and I sent him to the hoop group for 4 years. I sent him to Yale camps, Columbia camps, sent him to all the right places. He's an academic kid. And my guys at the hoop group and other places told me how well he was playing. But it's just amazing. You're right. A lot of teams don't want to dip their toe in the water. And I think it worked out great, though, because I think he's at a perfect spot with St. Joe's. So I'm really happy about that.
Great. Mike McSloy is doing an awesome job there.
He is.
That's a great spot for Long Island talent. It's quickly becoming one of my favorite teams, like, because all the kids that I used to love that were on the competing teams, the Gordon Schulers,
thanks.
Yeah, Spencer Malloy's.
Spencer played great last night.
McNeely's kid.
Yeah.
Who's the kid from the other Mount Sinai kid?
We got the two kids, the Hertz from Miller Place. Both Hertz from Miller Place.
Yeah. I just remember I coached those kids on one of the all-star teams, and they were just like great kids.
Yep.
And McSloy, he's another guy who's just a good guy, and he gets it. He knows how to coach, and I think they're gonna do some damage. I think St. Joe is gonna start to make a name for itself if it hasn't already.
Yeah, it's the right spot for a lot of the kids here, and I feel like, you know, these days with all the uncertainty that COVID has caused over the years, I think here you get the best of both worlds, and that's what you try to say to the kids, like it's a great option for you because first of all, the facility, I love the facility. I think it's first class, and Mike's a first class gentleman himself, and it's a first class education. So you get those three things together, and your parents can see you play. And I think the kids sometimes don't think about that, but it is important, you know, that somebody can come watch you play within, you know, a couple of minutes up the road. I think that's such an advantage.
Yeah, 100%.
And because, you know, it's hard, you know, for I used to drive 4 hours each way every Saturday for 3 years.
I get it.
You know, I'd practice 7 to 9, get in the car, get there for 2, take him out to dinner, put him back in the dorm, come back and get home like 11 o'clock at night. I mean, I
Yeah.
did it because I don't mind doing it, but woof, it's a lot easier now.
Yeah, I played up at Hobart, and you know, it was a 6-hour, 15-minute
Yeah,
drive from
yeah.
my folks, and they did it, you know, because
Yep.
they would catch. We played Friday, Saturday, so they would drive up Friday early, catch Friday, catch Saturday, and then drive home late Saturday.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well, you do it because you know it's more than just basketball for the kids at that level. As D3 is very hard because you're, you know, over Christmas break, you're away from home, and yeah, sometimes it's, you know, it's freezing up there. There's only you on campus. It's more than just basketball. You know, they need support system, you know, and
But
you know, besides the coaches and the teammates, I think a friendly face, you know, putting some food in their belly, sticking back in the dorm, I think is very helpful, you know.
yeah,
So let me just get your just overall thoughts on the A's as well. Like I know I'm a double A guy. I mean, I'm an A guy,
Yeah.
so I need your opinion on the double A's that you're in.
oh, you want the double A's?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough. It's wide open, and there's some really good teams. I mean, I don't want to leave anyone out on this one either,
Sure,
because I
sure.
really haven't. But you gotta think Smithtown West is really
Yep,
good. You gotta
yep.
think Brentwood's really good. I'm trying to think. You know, you got Deer Park and the A's now. You got Smith. Oh, and Hills East.
Yep,
Hills
Hills East
East.
is
I
very
got
good.
to see. I'm just talking about some of the people I've seen a little bit.
Sure,
Those are the first three that pop into mind, and then it goes deeper than that.
sure,
Um,
sure.
So you know, we competed against Hills East in the St. Anthony Summer League, and Patrick Burke's a really good player for West.
Yep, yep.
You got Xavier Lewis and some other guys over at
Sure.
Hills East that are scary.
Yeah.
And Brentwood's Brentwood. Like, listen, I would, you know, everyone, oh, they lost Jordan. They're still very good, and
Yeah,
they're always going to be
absolutely.
very good, and they're well coached, and they have athletes, and
Yep.
they have a system, and yeah, so they're in the mix. Don't sleep on Brentwood. Don't sleep
Sure.
on West, Hills East, and
Yeah, the double A's are tough.
yeah.
A
So
lot
we'll
of
see.
depth. A lot of depth. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun year for Suffolk County. I think it's good to have those teams that are like seem unbeatable, but it's also exciting when you don't have anyone that looks like they're perfect. You know, like there's some years where we talked about where you get that perfect looking team and it's like, uh-oh, you know, and like West Hampton 1998, where you just go, I was in their league and you just shake your head and you go, oh my God, I'm 0-2 here. I played well and lost by 15.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's nobody like that where you just go, you know, at least I think it's a situation where there's so much depth in the double A's, or I think that, you know, it'll be exciting thing, and it's going to be fun, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully we get through all this, God willing, with all this outside stuff, and hopefully the COVID situation will maintain itself, and we'll be fine. But I appreciate you coming on today, Coach. And
no, thanks for doing this. This is so great to help promote Suffolk basketball and the kids, and tell some old stories. And
yeah, it's fun.
I'm
man.
excited. I'm excited to look at some of the other ones, and you know, learn some more about some of the programs I don't know about. You know, you hear
Sure.
some stories, and
Yeah, well, once you get past 112, Route 112, it's another world out there.
yeah, I'm excited. But thanks for
All right.
doing this. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, Coach.
All right, I'll talk to you. Be good.
Take care.